All right, so I've had a full season on this new BOA system for ski boots, and I wanted to give my honest review. I think there's way too many reviews out there that are just blindly calling these a revolutionary product and something that can't be missed. And the fact that it's on like 6 huge brands products now, and now they have a product that's actually doing the upper cuff as well as the lower cuff, I wanted to give my honest feedback on these systems and how I think they can improve. Let's check them out. So let's talk about the pros of it. I think the system is great. I think the micro adjustment is nice. It is nice to be going down a ski run and sometimes your foot just maneuvers a little bit so that it's a little loose and you want to tighten it a bit. You can just do that and it's a little snugger, better. The issues I have with this BOA system in particular, the first one that's easy is I find that the dials are backwards to me. Like for how my wrist and strength is when I'm doing it up on the hill there. The way they have this now is the left boot will be counterclockwise and the right boot will be clockwise. So either way you're pushing the top forward. And the issue with that is I can only get so much strength that way. But if it was going the other way, if it was wrapped around there where I had to pull it back, I can get a lot more traction on that. So I would rather have this thing flipped around. The other issue I have with it is the fact that it's on a ski boot. And ski boots, if you've skied for any amount of time, you understand that when it gets cold, the shell gets harder. And it gets harder to get in and out of your ski boots is what most people notice if the shell is cold. But with this system, when you're coming to the bottom of a run, you loosen it off, right? And then, you loosen it off. You get to the top of the hill on a cold day on the chairlift and you go to tighten it up again. Your boot's gotten colder now and it takes even more effort. So what I find is the colder it is, the more likely I am to have to take off my glove because my glove's usually just like soft sheep leather or whatever. So I can't really torsion it up because if it's a cold day, I'm wearing my big mitts, right? And I can't get it as tight as I want to. So on those cold days, not only do I have to put more force into this, I'm putting the force in the wrong direction. I could feel myself hurting my wrist one of these days doing it. But even if it's really cold and I want to do a really aggressive run, I have to take my glove off to get the proper grip and torsion on this. And it's easy to show you here that, oh, you just have to grab it and turn it. But when there's ice and water on this and your gloves have ice and water on it, it just gets really tough to turn this dial. When you're in a ski shop and it's plus 20, these things are a dream. You can just do it with your hand. Oh, it makes complete sense. It's big. I could use it with my glove, but you're not thinking about when it gets cold and wet and your glove's wet and this has some ice on it. It gets really tough to turn this thing. So if there was some sort of little lever where I could use a little leverage to do it, that would be better. But that's one complaint I definitely have. One, I'd like to see this turned around the other way. And the other thing is when it's cold or wet, the traction on it is just not quite there. So I kind of get frustrated by that. So as somebody that's a huge fan of BOA, what I can tell you is that the system of BOA is incredible when you're dealing with softer fabrics. So things like mountain biking shoes, trail running shoes, snowboard boots. I got a 2-buckle system for the top, upper cuff and lower cuff of those boots, and it works really, really well. With these, it feels like they've developed a BOA system that just replaces 2 buckles, and it doesn't mean a lot to me. I don't notice the difference hardly at all. And the traditional BOA system's so great with those soft fabrics. What I would love to see them do is work with the ski boot manufacturers to be able to create a BOA system that's integrated into the liner, which is a soft portion of the boot, right? It's right against the skin. It's where you don't want to have the pressure points and things like that. So if there was a system that would go into the liner, or if they created like a thin subshell like a mid shell, something that went just below the shell, just above the liner, that had the cables running through it. I think that would allow you to have the traditional thinner cables that could wrap lower down on that mid liner to really snug up the foot and give you that snug feeling. And with that snug feeling, the snug foot, your foot's tight in that liner. That will give you the maximum amount of room from the shell to the liner. And you have another BOA system like this. And this provides another snugness down to it. And if there's any way to have that mid liner with the traditional BOA system somehow wrap so that the heel gets sucked right into the heel spot, I think that's going to be something that could be really, really helpful. I don't know how you do it. That's why I'm telling the engineers to figure it out. But just the way this is set up right now, it's just replacing a 2-buckle system that I don't think is broken. These are my wife's boots here, and even the more modern 2-buckle systems like in these Technicas here have additional like rubber and plastic right around where the buckles cinch down. So even though it's a harder plastic here, it does distribute that weight even better. And I've never heard many people complain about the way this system works. One of my most comfortable boots I've ever had are these Mountain Labs by Solomon. They're kind of a touring boot that I've used as alpine boots on the resort for a long time too. 1-buckle system down here and 1 buckle up top, which doesn't give you that power transfer like a 2-buckle or a 4-buckle system would. But the way they've kind of designed it is so that that pressure when you pull down on this buckle gets distributed pretty evenly here. And there's nothing kind of in this area, but that doesn't really matter. This area of a ski boot hardly ever delivers any power to the ski. So it seems like it's kind of wasted space. And I loved these boots. I still do because they're so light and so much fun. And I love they're the 1-buckle system. And they even just have like a fabric here with some plastic underneath it. I love these boots, and they're only a 1-buckle system. So in theory, the way that BOA talks about their system, like that should be the most uncomfortable boot on the planet, and it's not. So saying that, this is a very comfortable boot. This feels like something that would be good for someone that has like a mid to high volume foot. It would give a nice even pressure, I guess. Sure, it's not that big a deal. Yeah, so final thoughts on it. It's great, it's fine. If you want to get it, if you like the look of it, if you believe the lower pressure on the dorsal part of your foot there, or the metatarsal, go for it. They're fine, they're good boots, they're good. There's some drawbacks, like I said, but there's drawbacks with everything. They're a fine boot. But if you're on a budget and you're debating between the two, and what I would say is take that extra $100 that these guys are going to charge to put on the BOA system. I don't know what it would cost for a double, but take that money and put it into a good boot fitter. So go to a boot fitter, get a custom insole. If you can't afford a custom insole, then get like a performance insole, not one from like Shoppers Drug Mart, but a performance insole that molds to your foot with use. Or you can get the full custom insole if you do have like some foot issues or you really want the performance, but those are going to cost you hundreds of bucks. That's what I would recommend. Absolutely, is save that money, put it into a good boot fit, and I think that's going to alleviate a lot of the problems, unless you specifically have these metatarsal or metatarsal issues with the top of your foot. Yeah, that's my thought on the BOA system. I think it's a little bit overblown right now, but I think there is huge potential for it in the future. And yeah, overall, they're great boots.